evening, everybody, and welcome to the Fallout Bar on day 11 of the Paddy Power World Darts Championship. Another cracking day of action today. A couple of really good games throughout the day, and I'm once again joined by Jack Garwood and Carwyn Evans. Jack, I'll come to you first. How are you, mate?
We're making a bit of habit of this now, aren't we? As this little trio. I'm all right.
Taking over from Dan Simpson.
I'm sure he'll be back at some point. We had to give him a few days with the family over Christmas, or he would have been
set the marriage for him.
Yeah, yeah. We'll all get there one day, maybe.
Yeah, not too far off me now. Mine's down to about 10 months now.
Yeah, me and Miss were literally just discussing that as well. But yeah.
Carwyn, how are you, mate?
I'm okay, thank you. Apologies in advance if my picture isn't as good. It's not that the laptop's given up, is that I'm in the wildest of West Wales, but hopefully you can hear me even if you can't see me. But I'm good, yeah. As you say, another enjoyable day of darts, maybe even if it wasn't as sudden death thrilling as yesterday.
Yeah, your picture's actually cleared up a bit. You're looking a little bit better than you were a minute ago. So, yeah, musical houses for you this week as well. You are taking us on a trip around Wales as we go.
I am indeed.
We charge extra for that, like tourism fee.
I think.
Yeah, maybe I should invoice for tourism tax or something.
Tourism, petrol, a lot of it. Just get it all.
Yeah, why not?
Lets you get through and what it doesn't. In terms of the chat room, loads of you in already. I'll try and throw a few of you up on the screen. Video Smurf evening. We did ask a question of what darts related gifts you got for Christmas. Daniel unfortunately hasn't got any. Video Smurf got a 180. What more could you ask for, really? That's what we all want, essentially. Bob's in again as well. Got Stephen in. Max in there as well. Bob got a couple of dart shirts in there as well. Gezi and MVG. That's pretty good ones to be getting there as well. Pastric's in. We've also got Ross in there as well. And Daz in as well. So a few of the regulars in there. We'll try and throw some of your comments up on the screen as we go. And we'll get right into it and start with what was possibly the best game of the day, I think. Got us off to a start really well early on. And I'm surprised that we've got Gob here and not Dan Simpson, because it was a win for the North East, and
he's still pulling himself off.
Well, yeah, I didn't want to say that. I did a
polite way of saying that, but
well, yeah, I hinted that he had finished and shot himself at the same time when it happened earlier on. So we're not the most PC on this show, are we? To be fair, yeah, Ryan Joyce 4-3 winner over Ryan Searle in the Battle of the Ryans. Really, really enjoyable watch this. I'm not really sure how Ryan Searle's ended up not on the winning end of this, other than the fact that Ryan Joyce seemingly didn't miss a double for about an hour and a half straight. Carwyn, I'll come to you first on this one. Really good game.
It was, yeah. And I know I predicted last night, I think Ryan Searle would win quite comfortable, but what Joyce did and what I expected Joyce to do was to hang around there. What I didn't expect was him to be the front runner early on. I thought Searle might have come out the trap flying, and that Joyce would have to try and hang on. But no, fair play to him. He got a lead, and yes, whilst he was pegged back, he seemed to do enough to win the game. But yeah, it's one that Searle will definitely look back on and think, how have I managed to blow that one? And as I've seen one of the comments in already in the chat, that 1-1-3, that was such at that point in the game, and I know a big finish like that's good at any point, but to sort of get the lead in the extra time, let's call it, when Searle was sitting on top, is just... Yeah, it was just a fantastic timing under real pressure, really. And I think that's what Joyce has sort of... What we've seen from him is that he can handle the big pressure moments at the moment. And because he plays in the way he plays, he's hard to beat. And it'll be interesting to see how he gets on in the next round, because obviously he's up against a crowd favourite again, and yeah, he'll fancy his chances, because it's another free hit for him. Really, he's picking off these big boys with sort of no real pressure on him, really.
Yeah, Absolutely that. Evening, Jamie. Yeah, absolutely worth a watch. It was cracking watch, back and forth. It was really, really good. Yeah, like I say, Joyce is certainly going to fancy his chances going forwards if you keep finishing like that. But I was really impressed with his scoring as well. Like it felt like, other than maybe there were probably 4 or 5 legs in the middle where Searle just went a bit nuts on the scoring and he couldn't really stick with him. But other than that, it felt like you matched Searle in the scoring phase as well, Rob.
Yeah, they are pretty evenly matched in most statistics. Searle is one of the best top hitters in the world, if not the best. Joyce is right there in double 16. It was pretty much a battle of those two factors. If Ryan Joyce can live with Ryan Searle in the scoring department, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, especially when he started switching to the 19s as well. It's like a prime Cam McFarlane there throwing at the 19s.
I wouldn't go that far. I've seen you play, but look, it's similar logic to staying on the 19s on double start when you hit double 16 to begin with. If you're so comfortable in that region of the board, at that level of the board, then stay there. Because darts are about line and length, and he gets that length right an awful lot on double 16. You don't see him missing really high for double 8 like you get some players who get their darts to kick up in certain ways.
Yeah, that's it. And like you say, for him, because he's obviously quite a tall fellow as well, and these darts going flat, like throwing them down onto that target, it does tend to sort of make it a little bit easier there as well for him to stack them on top, more so than it does when he goes upstairs. And it worked really well for him, and really impressive performance. Like I say, he's got a very tough game coming up next, obviously, but he's fully going to fancy his chances. And we heard from him after his game today. We've got a little clip from him. All the interviews, as always, in full on the channel. So when you're done listening to us waffle on for a while, go on there. You can see every winner in full, I think. I'm pretty sure we've got everyone. We've not got everyone in the back end here, but I'm assuming we'll have Petco in there as well. Just as a spoiler, we've not got him as a clip. But first off, we've got Ryan Joyce. So let's listen to him and then we'll carry on.
Yeah, I have not got the scoring power consistently to compete with Luke Littler, but I can hit the doubles. So I'll go into the game thinking that I can win the match, but I'll also feel like I'm the underdog to win the game. But we've seen in sport so many times, the favourite doesn't always win. Otherwise it would be boring to watch, wouldn't it? So I'll have to... If Luke Littler plays at his absolute top level, he'd beat anybody, won't he? He'd brush me aside comfortably. But if he just has a couple of offsets, you'll find that it'll be 2 sets all after 4. And I'm not going to miss many doubles against him, so he's going to have to play well, I think, but not his absolute best.
Yeah, he's going to have to play well, but please don't play your best, because I don't fancy coming up against that. Absolutely fair enough. Stephen's asked in the chat, do we worry about Searle on the big stage, or was it just a hard luck story today? I think that was just hard luck today. I think Joyce was just better on the day. I don't think there was a lot more that he could have done. He missed a couple of opportunities, hasn't he? But generally, he was pretty good.
Yeah, he's average a
The
turn.
worry is that there's a lot of players out there like this now, isn't there? Like a Joe Cullen who manages to lose in the most heartbreaking fashion every single time. I'm not saying that Ryan Searle's in the same level at right now as Dave Chisnall, but he somehow finds ways to not convert into big titles. We've seen Chris Dobey go through similar phases. Yes, he won the Masters, had a crack at the Premier League. Hasn't really kicked on since then either. And look, only one player can win every single tournament. We know that. Searle's been a very, very good winner on the floor. But the warning signs are there that he puts in good performances and loses, a la Ian White, who we've seen play later on this evening as well.
Yeah, it's not a habit that you want to get into. Like, playing badly and winning is the one you want of the two options. And yeah, he does struggle sometimes to get over the line. But I think today it was just more credit to Ryan Joyce, to be honest, today than anything that really Searle could have done. In the next game, this was one that sort of split the chat room last night, and we thought would be a pretty close game. In the end, not close at all, really. Ricardo Petco has done a proper job on Scott Williams, who didn't feel like he really turned up today. Like, it felt like he played okay. He's not had a stinker by any means, but he just couldn't find that next level where we see him get into a rhythm and hit ridiculous numbers of 180s and big checkouts and get involved with the crowd. And it felt like he was a little bit flat from sort of the first set onwards and just never really got going, did he go?
I think the first thing we have to consider here is that Scott didn't really interact with the crowd. And I think what may have took him by surprise a little bit was just how many in that crowd were there from Germany supporting Ricardo Petrescu. Scott Williams got booed on the walk-on.
Yeah, not really expecting that one, are you? As Scott, like we know, obviously the German fans always travel really well. There's always a lot of them at the Palace, but you still expect at that point it to be overwhelmingly positive in Scott Williams' favour. But the Germans were there; they made a lot of noise. It felt like a Euro Tour at times, didn't it?
But if you're someone who is comfortable interacting with the crowd and gains a lot from having that back and forth with the positive crowd and giving it in your support, etc., it's a little bit more difficult to go on and do that when you get hit by a wave of booing that perhaps you weren't expecting. Now, part of that might be Scott Williams' own doing from his comments a couple of years ago after he beat Martin Schindler in the same round.
Yeah, they might not have been as against him, the Germans in the audience.
That's up to the Germans to decide. And look, I don't know what the response was like in return for Petrescu walking on, because we heard the boos for Scott,
and then
they definitely muted the reaction from the crowd when Petrescu was walking on. So look, I don't want to get too much into that, but that's certainly a factor, I think, early on, when you consider why Scott perhaps wasn't his usual jovial self from the off. I think Petrescu played really nicely early on. His double hitting was clinical, and he just did a job on Scott Williams in the end. He kept him at arm's length. He didn't get involved in anything too silly. Yeah, look, we've seen Petrescu go and win on the Euro Tour. We've seen him go deep in big games. We've seen him only really lose to Luke Humphries in the TV majors so far this year. His floor form hasn't been great, and he's run into Luke pretty early in some of those tournaments. But he is someone who, because of that Euro Tour win, you have to take seriously.
Yeah, really good. We know he's a really good player, and he was just on it and focused from the start today. And it felt like he wanted to almost Scott Williams a little bit, in that we saw him try and go for three tops, which was hit the first one as well. And you fancied it to go after he hit the first one. But his scoring was good. His doubling was exceptional again. And yeah, he's going to be a problem for anyone he sort of runs into if he carries on playing like that.
I think
that's the thing.
Top attempt was a little bit close to the line. It's not something Petrescu ever does. I think that was a little bit showboaty, rubbing his face in it a bit.
I don't mind
because it's so unlike.
Go on, it's Scott Williams, and he's the.
We don't hate seeing attempts like that. We think they're brilliant, but the timing of it when he's so clear, and then the grin afterwards, and the way that the crowd were reacting to it a little bit as well. Part of me felt a little bit like that was. It was old days attitude to a shot like that. You can see shots like that and go for it, fine. And they're becoming more and more common within the sport, doubles and all that sort of stuff. And 25 years ago, you'd have been taken outside if you tried that in the local league. Now it's the right way to go. Three tops is a different matter.
Yeah, but I liked it. I thought it was a bit of fun. He'd already had a bit of a play with the crowd and gone for the ball when they wanted him to go for the ball. I think he was just trying to put on the show, really, because of, one, the support he was getting and sort of the atmosphere we had. And I really wanted it to be a close game, because I thought that atmosphere would have been, the back and forth would have been brilliant if it had been, but it just didn't quite get to there, did it, Carly?
No, it didn't. And Ricardo sort of never let it get to that stage either. He just controlled it, really. And as you've both mentioned, Scott Williams wasn't quite the races. And when he's not giving it the big one, when he's not giving it that swagger, you sort of struggle to find where he gets that extra drive, the extra adrenaline you need for such a big game. And obviously, he'll be disappointed to have lost the game. I think he'll be even more disappointed in the way he's lost the game. It's felt like he's gone out without really giving much back to Petrescu. And he'll probably be laughing at the fact that he got quite an easy ride really into the next round, because he would have looked at this, that matched them up, and there's not much between them in terms of rankings and a significant sort of game for both of them as they look up the order of merit. But if he plays like that, and if he hits 50% plus on his doubles from here on in, he's going to be hard to beat, because we know he can score. He's not the biggest scorer out there, but he scores heavily enough to give himself chances. And if you're hitting one in every 2 doubles, then you're going to be in matches however long they are.
Yeah, you're going to win more than you lose if you keep doing that, especially if you're scoring as he did today as well. Little shout out in the chat room as well. Mr. Robert Owen in the chat room. You will definitely hear some booing tomorrow night when you play Ricky. I'm sure we will, to be fair, with Ricky being a fan favourite as well. But I don't think it'll be too bad. And look at Carwin, how excited he got there as soon as we mentioned that we had Owen in the chat room.
Delighted.
Another alert for you, Rob. Carwin's already predicted you to win 4-0. We've not even got on to tomorrow yet, but he's already predicted that without even thinking about it.
Yes, I have. I can confirm.
As I mentioned before, we haven't got Ricardo in a clip for the show, so we'll get straight on to the next game of the day, which came last game of the day. This one felt a little bit flatter than than Scott Williams' performance did, to be honest. But outside of the fan downing the jug of beer that in the final leg, Nathan decided just to stop and watch before going for it. Before then, stopping when I think someone was getting booted out and the crowd was booing when he was mid-visit right at the end of the leg and throwing one out the board, going for a single 18. Other than that, there wasn't really a lot to say about this game, other than that Gilding didn't really show up and Nathan did enough, basically, Colin.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I think I predicted an Aspinall 4-0 win, which I thought he may have played a little bit better. But yeah, it says a lot when the highlight of a game is see somebody dressed up. Was it a gingerbread man? I can't remember now.
It was a hot dog, I think.
Hot dog, that's it. Yeah, I knew it was some sort of food. Yeah, when a guy dressed as a hot dog downing a jug of beer it stops the action on stage. I think it says everything. But Aspinall, he's not been in great form, and he's sort of been fighting the dreaded dartitis, whether he calls it that or not. But he'll just be glad to sort of get another walk in the park, really, as in he hasn't had to sweat much to make it through to the last 16. And when your form's not great, sometimes that's all you need. Yes, he knows he'll have tougher tests, but if you keep winning, then it doesn't make a difference how you play. And yeah, it's let's be honest, we all nobody dislikes the Asps. So the team in the last 16 is thumbs up from everybody, I'd imagine.
Yeah, exactly that. Like he's not played anywhere near his level today, and he'll know he'll have to up it. But like he said it himself afterwards, couldn't care one bit about numbers or how he's played. It's all about still being in the draw and still going. And he's got levels to go through, and we know we can play a lot better than that. A bit of a surprise to see Gilding not show up at all, really. Jack, in that, generally he turns up and plays his game, but he was miles off it today.
Yeah, especially as he did control the pace of this game. You can see Nathan perhaps getting a little bit frustrated. He's not the quickest player in the world, Nathan, but he does play at that nice little rhythm within his own game. But yeah, the scoring power from Gilding just seemed absent today. It wasn't the most it wasn't the best Aspinall we're ever going to see. It's not Aspinall, oh, brilliant, let's get this guy in the Premier League Aspinall. His finishing was superb today, but the rest of his game left a little bit to be desired for me. That being said, he keeps racking up wins at this World Championships. He's not going to be too far away from a caller in that regard as well.
No, not at all. And we try not to just talk about the Premier League in everything that we talk about when we're talking about the World Championships, but he is someone that's expressed the fact that he wants to be in it, and he's someone that gets the crowd on side. He's a very likable character, and if he keeps winning and keeps going through this, I think he's a shoo-in to make it again.
I think it's the nature of the beast at this point of the tournament as well. Like, we are discussing that an awful lot more. I saw Keith Deller get himself in a bit of trouble on Twitter earlier going, people shouldn't be talking about the Premier League in the middle of a World Championship, despite the fact 2
having
days ago he picked his current
days
8 and
earlier.
blocked people that reminded him of it. So fair play to that one. Fair play on that one, Keith. Whatever floats your boat. But like, Aspinall
I thought
does
he'd
have
have
the
been
ability to
138
go and win
players,
the
to be
World
honest.
Championships. We know that. We've seen him win the World Match Play. We've seen him win big titles before. Do we think he can do it on current form? No. He's not my pick to go and win the World Championship. He is 5th, 6th, 7th favourite from here, seemingly, and we're not quite in the last 16. So, look, he's not one of the big guns to go and lift this title as it stands right now. But intriguingly, there is another story around it for Nathan Aspinall. Not everybody goes to the World Championships they all go there believing they can win it one day with a good run. But realistically, they look at it and go, right, if I get here, where does this put me? Where does this put me in the world rankings? Can I sneak into the top 16 with a run to the 4th round? Can I leap into the top 24, which is quite difficult given that now holds even more significance for the Masters. Because it used to be, can I get in the top 24 to play in the Masters? Then it got stretched back to the 32. Now it's the top 24 automatically into the knockout stages, and the next 8 or whatever grouping go into certain rounds of the group stages or whatever. So there is implications around that as well. But right now, I'm not looking at Aspinall to win this title, but I am looking at Aspinall as one of the 4 players that can go and get a lucrative spot in the Premier League once again.
Yeah, 100%. And we heard from him afterwards. Quite a long clip, this one. So here was Nathan Aspinall after beating Andrew Gilding this afternoon.
What do you think?
Yeah,
exactly. So I think darts now is that a lot of money involved, there's a lot of eyes on you. People are just so focused, concentrated. People forget that what darts is. I'll never forget it. The first time I met Barry Hearn, he came and said, yeah, you're sportsmen, but first and foremost, you guys are entertainers. And people think we're sportsmen, people don't. We're entertainers, and that's what I do. Peter Wright does it, I do it, Gerwen Price does it. Yeah, we go in there to win, we go in there to produce our best stuff, but we also go out there to make the public have a good time. They paid the money, have fun. And, I think, if me, Gezi, Peter retired tomorrow, I think it'd be a pretty boring place. You got Damon Etta, he's the same with Walker and Stephen Bunting. You need characters in the game. But, yeah, listen, it's not, and it isn't all done for show. It does mean a lot to us, but I think I watched Gezi last night and Joe. What a 170 by the way. But yeah, what a great game of darts it was, and I took a lot from Gezi's game last night, how he controlled himself, and I've done the same today. Yeah, I've been speaking to Sean for the night I got dartitis, which was in Brighton before then, so 3 years I've been speaking to Sean, so it's not a new thing for me. The new thing is the hypnotherapy, which was recommended by Stephen Bunting, and I was a bit sceptical of it, and then I look how good Stephen Bunting's playing, and I'm like, I'll give that a go. But I spoke to the hypnotherapy more for my dartitis, and okay, it's still there in my game, not as bad as it used to be, still there in a little bits, but I've got it under control. And
interesting 2 parts, and I know Cam's hosting tonight, but there is something I want to leap on straight away. It was the line saying that if him, Price and Wright retired tomorrow, darts would be in a boring place. I'll be honest, for most part of this year, it's felt like you've done that anyway. You've barely made it past the second round of majors between the 3 of you, and darts has had a brilliant year in terms of underdogs winning and surviving. And for me, it's now up to the PDC to allow these other characters to grow, not just go, well, these are the same 8 players we've rolled out for these events for the last 3 years, so these are the only ones that the casuals know, and therefore these are the ones that have to go on the World Series and the Premier League all over again. All right, Bunting is the exception to that because he's built his own Bunting mental fans with TikTok and whatever else, but not everybody's capable of doing that anyway. Not everybody is outgoing enough and extrinsic enough to be able to go and do things like that. And I think it's up to the PDC as promoters to ensure that they've got enough bodies, if these guys suddenly do disappear tomorrow, to keep the sport moving along and be entertaining, provide everybody with enough opportunities, and ensure that actually this goes all the way back to, can the 128 all make a living from the sport as well? And I'm not sure that some of them are in that position, excuse me. Elsewhere, the comments on the dartitis were pretty interesting, I think.
Yeah, the fact that he's we knew he's been seeing someone sort of out behind the scenes anyway, in terms of like the psychology side of it, but the fact that he's sort of taken from Stephen Bunting to go and have the hypnotherapy side of it as well, which I'll be honest, I didn't know that was something that Stephen was doing, to be fair, but it's about what works for you essentially, and there's loads of different things you can do. Just whether it's in life or whether it's in sport, just that sort of work for some people and don't work for others. But I'll be honest, does it look a lot different when we're seeing him play on stage now? I'm not sure, but as long as he feels like it's working for him, then fair play to him and keep going with it.
I think he also needs another sit down with Barry Hearn to remind him that he's an entertainer, because they seem to have forgotten that recently. And yeah, interesting 3 names to pick of characters based on, as you Gob said, form and also what we've seen in darts this year. As in, I know that's probably a plea to get the old names in the World Series into the Premier League, but darts has moved on, and I feel like a lot of household names maybe haven't, and they're being left behind. There's a new wave coming, and it's time to unleash them on a global stage.
That's not to say that these guys aren't capable, by the way. Seeing Peter Wright the other day play at a 96 average with finishing 2 and 3 dart combinations was very, very good to see. Seeing Aspinall finish tonight the way that he did was good to see in the absence of some scoring. Seeing Gezi and Joe Collin going at it was brilliant. That felt like darts that those two were producing 3, 4, 5 years ago, when we've looked at this peak and gone, isn't darts in such a brilliant space, right? But those performances have been few and far between this year. And whilst you can say they're entertainers, a lot of other players are entertaining and good to watch, a la Mike De Decker, who's won a major this year out of pretty much nowhere, but his 180 hitting is brilliant and he gets going. And there's plenty of others out there.
Yeah, there are. Just like that one, as Jamie said. 100%. Get Rashad Sweeting in. I don't care. I dropped the Asp to Rashad Sweeting in, and we're all much of a fan of the Asp I am. But from there, on that bombshell, we'll move on to the evening session. And another really good start to the session. Close game. Kind of feel like 4-2 to Dobey didn't quite do Josh Rock justice in this, because it felt a much closer game than that. Yes, Dobey finished it off really well in the end, but Josh Rock sort of pushed him all the way in this one goal.
He did. He started brighter. Dobey started a little bit more frantically. Doubles weren't quite there for him. I hesitate to say it played out exactly how I thought it would, perhaps not in the scoreline in the way it went, but actually, if you look at the two factors around the players, they both score pretty highly. They both do miss a shed load of doubles. But Rock's darts are just that little bit more erratic, and they seem to cost him more dearly. Dobey's going to miss handfuls of darts clumped in together like he did in set 1 to save the set in that 5th and decided leg in that set. And that's where Dobey's flaw lies. But other than that, he's pretty straight. He's pretty down the middle. He's still going to hit tons if he's throwing bad visits, etc. If Rock's off it, his radar goes everywhere. It doesn't just go on the doubles. It goes on the trebles too. And that just allows Dobey, what did he reel off? 6 legs in a row at one point? Certainly 5, I think it was. Like, you don't really see that happening the other way, because even when he's struggling, you still feel like Dobey can plant in a maximum out of nowhere and give himself an outside shot to pinch a leg, stop the rock, and just give his opponent something else to think about. Now, that's not to say that they're both not incredibly talented and brilliant to watch. They're incredibly closely matched, given the fact they had 250 quid separating them in where they are, over £800,000 in prize money won between them this year. And the way that they play the game is exciting. But of the two, the one who has smaller flaws in his game is Chris Dobey, and he's the one that came out on top in the end.
Yeah, essentially, it just felt like towards the end that he just sort of managed the game a little bit better. He was able to just remain a little bit calmer, slow it down slightly if he needed to, and just take that extra second to just do what he was doing. And at that point, he then found his doubles, and he went from sort of being at 12% in the first set to ending up at over 45% on the doubles in the end, Carwin, which was really impressive from him, to be honest. And like I said, we know they both got the scoring power, but it just came down to that from Dobey of being just a little bit calmer under pressure.
Yeah, and that's what you need, isn't it? As in, when you're matching your opponent like for scoring, and you know your opponent also struggles on the doubles, you just got to nail yours as often as you can. And that's what he did. When it came to the crunch from 2-all, he just managed to he managed his doubling a bit better and sort of controlled it a bit and put the pressure on Rock, because obviously Rock breaks him in the first set and you think, right, if you hold your second set now, you're halfway there. But Dobey, he's having played on the big stage across the world and what have you. You know he's got the game to sustain and to build on a slow start, and that's what he did really. He got himself into the game, and best of 7, it does give you that breathing space. And from 2-all, he just seemed to control it. And when he won, was it the 5th set? He won 3 legs. No, 4th set. He won 3-0.
Yeah, to level it up at 200 average and just a really solid set from him.
Yeah, and that's when he sort of thought. I know he that 180 to leave 6 as well. As in, I don't know if he was thinking prostate cancer or if he was thinking put pressure on Rock sitting on tops, but. Whatever it did worked, and that to me was probably the turning point in Dobey controlling it, and Rock probably having that on his mind, knowing he should have made Dobey work a bit harder to win the set, which unfortunately he didn't, and yeah, Dobey gets out on top for a northeast double.
Yeah, it worked in the end. It didn't work first, is it, when he came back to the board after it and didn't get within the same postcode as the 3-3 first time round, but then. Obviously, Rock then went on to miss again, and yeah, from there he closed it out really well. And the last set was probably his best set of the game, where he just didn't allow Rock to sort of make it close or even put any pressure on him. We also have Chris Dobey from after his game, so we'll listen to him and then we will carry on.
I think he'll bounce back, no doubt. Just look what he's done in the game. He lost in so many major finals, and he came back from that to win 2 of the biggest ones, and he proved that he can do it. So I've got no doubt in my mind that he will bounce back and boost himself up there in rankings. But at the minute, I've got one on him, and I'm above him, so I want to stay that way.
Sweet.
Yeah, not a lot there from him, but yeah, there we go. He's quite happy with himself and happy with where he is. Someone who will be happy to get the win, but maybe not quite as happy with sort of the way that the win happened will have been Michael van Gerwen in this next game, where he got pushed relatively close by Brendan Dolan without you never felt completely that he was in danger. There was an opportunity, Dolan had 1 dot at the ball to make it 3-all, but it sort of felt like he had him at arm's length without really ever putting him away in this one. Michael van Gerwen here in his 4-2 win over Brendan Dolan, Colin.
That was it. He sort of... it was a strange old game, really, because you thought once Van Gerwen made it 1-all and he looked like his head was switched on, and especially that 3rd set where I think he averaged pretty much 105. You thought, okay, here he is now. He's going to reel the game off and we'll be done 4-1, and then you'll have a short game in the last game as well. But for whatever reason, from 3-1 up, I don't think he necessarily took his foot off the gas, although I know he played abysmal in the 5th set. It just... Dolan just sort of does what Dolan does and hangs around and doesn't make it easy for you and loves the scrap. And MVG let it become more of a scrap than it probably needed to. In the way he missed, I can't remember how many doubles he missed in that 4th leg in the 5th set on 14s and 7s and what have you. But
it was just,
yeah, and I think, yes, he's won and he'd be happy with winning, but there's so many sort of questions over MVG still, I think, and he won't be happy with his performance, but he'll be satisfied with a win, knowing, again, he's another one who'll have to pick his game up if he's going to go deep in this tournament.
Yeah, is this just what we need to expect now from MVG, Gob, in that, yes, he's going to have sections where set 3 and 4, he's averaged about 110 for 2 sets and looks absolutely $1 million, and then just can't back it up and can't sustain it for a long period of time and just completely then falls off a cliff and averages 30 points lower for the next set.
Yeah, I think that's key. Look, I retweeted a stat from the Redbit 180 on Twitter earlier and said after 118.66 average in the 4th set, Michael van Gerwen averaged 84.05 in set 5. the gap between MVG's A game and B game has literally never been bigger. And I know that's only 2 sets there in a short space of time, but that sums up the last 18 months for Van Gerwen. He can go on these spells where he's unplayable for 3, 4, 5 legs, and then he drops back off to a ridiculous level. In the past, he's gone on these ridiculous spells, but then he's dropped down to a mid-90s average. He's competitive, and he can keep it ticking over, and that keeps it over 100 overall, and it just keeps that pressure on your opponent. The release is so great now from Van Gerwen that what his drop-off is effectively doing is allowing 6 visit legs to be enough for opponents. What he used to be able to do was force you into 5 visit legs on your throw. You still need to go and throw a 15 dart leg. You still need to get it over and done with that 100 average on your throw, and then we'll come back with it. Or you might get the odd shot at an 18, but not very often. Now, 18 is the benchmark when he's throwing at 84 averages, and you might get a 7th visit to the board, which should never really happen in games against Michael Van Gerwen. I will say that Dolan's done well to fight back in this one again, but we didn't really mention this with the Searle game earlier, and look, you cannot blame the entire match on these 2 moments, but Searle had an opportunity to save the game earlier, missed the big number. Brendan Dolan had an opportunity to send us to a 6th set, missed the big number, only got a dart at the ball. These are 2 of the steadiest, most consistent players on the tour, and missing the big number in those circumstances is pretty unforgivable. And whilst we want to give him credit for good games played and well done, got to be tighter in those moments, because they're the moments that are going to define these games ultimately. If Dolan gets a shot at a double and takes it, which he's more likely to than the ball, despite hitting the ball a couple of times in the game, 7th and final set, pressure on Van Gerwen again, all the momentum's with Dolan. Same with Searle earlier, extends that game, gets a dart at tops, who knows? We might be sitting here having 2 completely different conversations tonight.
Yeah, 100%. Like, it was less criminal, the Dolan one, because he still got a dart at the ball. But yeah, Searle not. I know, obviously, with Searle, he obviously didn't want to block tops, essentially, was what he was trying to do. He was trying to keep it over to one side. And if you're that worried about trying to block tops, you might as well just go single 10 and give yourself a dart at the ball. Like, if you're that concerned about it, you're going to end up missing it. But it is just a lack of concentration as well in that biggest moment.
Can I ask, do you think, Dolan had a shot at the 70? Do you think he wasn't expecting a shot, but then MVG missed the big number, went into the 5, didn't he? Do you think that was a factor with Dolan missing the big 18, missing the 18 completely, that he didn't expect to come back to the board?
Maybe,
but then a player of his experience should know to take a step back, re-go again, and you know what I mean? Like, big numbers are big numbers. At that level, it's unforgivable to miss them.
Yeah, of course,
Cam's bang average and hits 55 averages for fun. He'd be pissed off if he missed a big number in a local league game. Like, to do it on the World Championship stage for a player who's won as much and been around as long as Brendan Dolan has, unforgivable.
Yeah, it is. It's not good enough. And yeah, I was going to make exactly the same point that you just made there. Like I say, he's experienced enough to know that if it happens, just take a step back, reset. It's not like he's the quickest player in the world. It's not like he rushes up to the hockey and throws a dart anyway. Like, he should be all right with that. It shouldn't really be a worry for him. We heard from Michael Van Gerwen afterwards. It's another one that's short and sweet, I'll be honest with you. So we'll see you very shortly.
As long as you keep standing close to yourself, I think anything is possible. And to win this tournament, you need to have some proper balls. Everyone knows that, but we're still so far away. We're only in the last 16 now, so there's still a long way to go.
Yeah, short and sweet. You've got to have some proper balls if you're going to do it. What he also keeps doing as well is pulling his socks up, which mentioned in the chat. He does that a lot. Now, I'm no sports psychologist by any means, but everyone knows that he does that when he's worried or it's not quite going the way he wants it to. Surely he should just stop doing it. Like, he's consciously doing that afterwards. He knows he's doing it. Like, yes, I get he maybe wants to feel a little bit more comfortable or whatever reason he does it for. Just get a pair of socks that fit. That'll help. But, like, everyone knows as soon as you start doing that you've got them rattled a little bit, and that it just surely gives your opponent a bit of a boost when they see you doing that.
I'm not sure it's a rattled thing. Phil Taylor used to bite his flights, didn't he, when he was under it a little bit? I think Van Gerwen's more of it symbolises, right, time to go to work. Do you know what pulling his socks up is? It's hammer time for Lewis Hamilton. That's exactly what it is. It's right. Switch this mentality. We're going to go for it now. This is where I need to kick on and up the level almost. That's what that is. I'm not sure it's an under pressure, oh God, someone's coming to get me sort of thing. I think it's a right, pull your socks up, time to go to work, time to close this out, do the job, put your foot down, get beyond this.
I just think he needs to pick better socks then, because they're not working for him at the moment. Or wear an extra pair of socks or something, because...
Or not. Yeah, someone said in the chat, just don't wear any.
They're not
thing
white.
is, it's easy enough against...
Black all around, never.
It's easy enough to average 118 in one set and 84 against Dolan. You know you'll win the 118 set. You come up against Gerwen Price on all cylinders, or either Luke at the moment, they'll match you in the 118 set, and then they'll destroy you in the 84 set. That's what he needs to sort out, is close that gap or bring up his B game, or he'll have no hope when he's tested properly later in the tournament.
Yeah. Speaking of one of the two Lukes, rounded off the session and the day tonight, Luke Littler up against Ian White, and another game where he felt like he didn't quite put him away, but he never felt really in danger, but wasn't quite as clinical as we'd have expected from Luke in this one, Carwin.
No, it wasn't. And I found it interesting, sort of, when Ian White went 2-1 up in the first set, the crowd all of a sudden started to chant Ian White's name. And I thought, ooh, that was pretty early on for them to turn on Littler. But I mentioned it in the group chat, and I know Ian White did win the second set, but to me, a bit like Luke Humphries and Nick Kenny last night, if Ian White wanted to do some damage in this game, he needed to start well and needed to win that first set. After getting the break, you sort of just you almost want him to win it to make it a better game for everybody, because we all know once Luke Littler, once the shackles come off, as in he's unstoppable, and that's what we saw towards the end of the game. But it was a very, very nervy start, and I think it's easy to forget that he's only 17 years old, and this is only his second appearance at the World Championship. And even though he sort of plays it off that he doesn't feel the weight on his shoulders, I've had the impression this tournament that he is feeling it a bit, and that expectation on a 17-year-old is getting to him, and that's why we probably haven't seen... I know we've seen glimpses of what he can do with that bonkers third set in his last round match, but he's just... there's something not quite there, especially his doubling, as in tonight he seemed to miss a lot of doubles where 3 months ago you'd have him nailed on to sort of hit them with ease. And I think, I can't remember if it was 76 or 74, the single 20 before the tops felt very high for Luke Littler and just blocked him, and that's something I wouldn't have expected him to do with the way he has been playing leading up to Ali Pali.
Yeah, I think it tells with the doubling that he even mentioned himself afterwards that he thought about changing away from tops and tens in the middle of the game, which, with how good he's been on them since we've seen him show up last year and seen everything that he's done, that he'd do anything to leave double 10, like as far as splitting 36 and leaving himself on 20 by hitting the single 16. For him to be thinking mid-game about switching away from it shows that something's not quite there. We still saw the levels. Like third set again, like the third set the other day it was like about 115 average. It was another really good set from him, but there just feels a little bit of vulnerability that I don't feel like we've really seen at any point up until this. And we shouldn't really be surprised. He's 17. He's far from the finished article. He's far from being experienced in this game, and it's the first event that he's coming to in the professional environment that he's playing in again. He hasn't done this before now, so he's got a marker post to try and live up to as well. But it just felt like there is a bit of vulnerability there, Jack.
Yeah. First of all, he is 17, and the fact he's even in this position again is still, I don't think it's talked about enough. People go, oh, he's only 17. It's become a bit of a meme almost. But actually, there are still vulnerabilities in 17-year-olds as they grow up and get used to being in these environments and what people are really like and what certain parts of the media will try and do to you. And he's had to learn all of that very, very quickly. If you consider the last 6 weeks that Luke's had in comparison to the 6 weeks he had in the build-up to last year's World Championships, there were a few people talking about how special Luke can be and could he make a quarterfinal on debut if he catches a couple of people off guard. But they were really people in the dart circle or like even our show in Ilkeston last year. Luke was there live, sat with me, Chris Mason, Dan, having a chat in the Prince of Wales, right? Do you think we could have got him this year? Could we, heck?
No.
Right, he has gone to the absolute stratosphere. His game was arranged specifically so he could go to Sports Personality of the Year before he had to throw a dart in this tournament. That's ridiculous in itself. He won Young Sports Personality of the Year. He finished runner-up in the main event. He signed sponsorship deals with Boohoo Man and Xbox in the build-up to this. He's been the face of a Sky Sports campaign. Let's be honest, the only reason he's not been the face of the entire World Championships is because Paddy Power cannot touch him for another 6 weeks. When he turns 18 in the second week of January, 6 weeks is too far, 3 weeks. And then Luke Littler can be used as the face of those sort of companies as well in the context of the sport. Like, there is so much pressure on the kid because last time it was everybody in the crowd is buzzing to see what this kid can do. And oh my God, isn't this a meteoric rise? Now he walks in with an expectation of Luke might hit another 9 because he's already hit 3 this year and there's 60 grand on the line and he's so special he could do this and he's favourite for the title. Like, that's a ridiculous change for a 17-year-old to have processed. And the pressure of that going up there to play darts against players who are now used to playing him. Don't get me wrong, there is still fear factor around playing Luke because he can go berserk. The same way in the women's game that players aren't particularly keen on playing Bo Greaves, I suspect, because if she wants to flick the switch, she is head and shoulders above 95% of players in the women's game. But at some point, something will give. And the hope is that it doesn't affect Luke if and when something does give and something within the bubble bursts and that he can continue to just keep playing darts. What he doesn't need is Phil Taylor in the Red Tops yesterday saying he's got a chance of matching my 16. He's not won one yet. Give the kid a break. The last person we said, we'll get really close to Taylor or go far, has won 3 and is probably one of the most disappointing players in the World Championships we've seen. 3 is a massive underachievement for Michael van Gerwen.
Which is also wrong.
He's been dominant elsewhere. And you look at how great he's been for the sport and everyone goes, he's done this, he's done that. When you then put 3 World Championships into that context, it's a massive difference. So let the kid play darts, basically.
Yeah, exactly that. And that is the thing. And by letting him play darts, we're going to see the best of him. We're going to see what we all want to see, which is when he's at his best, he is sort of untouchable. And we see things that almost we've never seen at times. Like I said, that set that we saw in the Meikle game, like it's something that obviously it's going to be tough for him to deal with, and he's going to have to learn to deal with it because the way things are now, that hype is not going away. Like, it's not going to change. It just the way the world is now, he's going to have to deal with it. But he's going to have to find a way to deal with it. And like I say, it's whether it affects him before, and if at some point the crowd turns on him. Like, he handled it really well today when they started singing Ian White's name. He was getting involved with it a little bit, and he sort of spurred him on, and he played a little bit better. But if it turns more than that, then it's something that's going to be difficult for him. We did hear from him afterwards as well. Phil's on it as always. He's even managed to get the last one of the night in there for us in the background. So we'll hear from Luke now, and then it is time to get all involved in the chat room, even more than you already are doing, in predictions.
I feel like it's the same, but it's good for myself to show that I can be ruthless. I'm not a nice person at times on the board. I don't think anyone else is, but it's always good to have that a bit of aggression.
Is that one thing you've learnt over the last 12 months, that like you say there, you have to be ruthless and have to be nasty to compete with the very elite?
Yeah, obviously Ian's been around for many years. Like you said, he's playing my granddad, but for myself it's good to be ruthless, especially on that last start, as many people do see.
It does put it into context a little bit, doesn't it? Like, he's playing people that have played against his granddad. Like,
We've played well tonight as well. Like, we just sat here and gone, it wasn't the all-impressive performance of Luke, but actually from a numbers standpoint, 97 average and 35% on the doubles in a night where we've gone, well, his tops and tens have let him down massively. It's still pretty impressive. If
Still a pretty good performance. And
your
not only
biggest
that,
weapon on the outer ring to finish a game has completely deserted you for the majority of the game, you've still hit just over 1 in 3 attempts at double and average 97. So what? 3 of those doubles going in a dart earlier for 100 average. We're sat here having a completely different conversation about Luke tonight. It's fine margins for a player. I think it's just expectation levels, isn't it? Like, every time one of the Lukes toes the hockey, we expect 104, 105, 180s galore, 9 dart attempts, whatever, because they've been so dominant compared to the rest of the field this year. And I think the fact that everyone else has waned a little bit, so we have been a little bit reliant on these two providing the fireworks.
Yeah.
And when they don't quite do that and they put in good, solid performances at professional level that keep plenty in the tank but show they've got different sides to their game and can win ugly, if you like. Win ugly with a 97 average. What's the world come to? But you get what I'm saying, don't you?
It's level now, though, isn't it?
He's got this to his game and he doesn't have to go and blow people who have 110 averages and whatever on TV is a valuable asset to have.
Yeah, 100%. Into tomorrow then. And predictions time in the chat room. We'll throw them all up on the screen as we go along. If you're wanting to get involved and you're struggling to comment, you do have to subscribe. So drop us a subscribe. It'll then let you comment. Drop us a like on there as well, because it just gets more eyes on us and more people involved in what we're doing. Starting off then, the game that I don't think anyone expected to be this game here at the start of this session, but Jeffrey de Graaf against Paolo Nebreda. Carwyn, I'll come to you first. Which way are you going on this one?
I really want Paolo Nebreda to win because it makes the rest of the day more enjoyable as a Welshman.
You looking at the tour card race by any chance?
Well, I may be. Who knows? Nebreda needs to start well. Yeah, Nebreda wins 4-2.
Dob, where are you going?
I don't hate that shout, you know. Jeffrey is so up and down, and to get past Gary the way he did, I don't think he'll be naive enough to walk in there and think it's job done straight away. But I'm going to say de Graaf edges it 4-3. Prepare for a long session.
Yeah, it's going to be that. I think de Graaf wins as well. I think it's a little bit wider, though. I've been quite impressed with how he's played so far, as much as he's been the bastard of the Palace so far in that he's knocked out Rashad Sweeting and then Gary Anderson. His performances have actually been excellent, and I actually think he wins this 4-1. I don't think it's going to be as long of a game as we think it might be. In the chat, we have got James has got it 3-1. I'm assuming that's he's changed his mind. 4-2. Okay, he's given both of them an extra set there. Jack 4-2 for Jeffrey. Patrick's 4-1 for de Graaf, as is Daniel. Bob's gone Nebreda 4-2. James has gone de Graaf 4-2. Daz Nebreda 4-2 as well. De Graaf 4-1 for Kieran. Jamie 4-0 Nebreda. Have you put 2 predictions in? You put 3-0 as well. Everyone's getting confused with that one, really. So I think everyone just wants it to be first to 3 this one rather than 4. As he's gone 4-0 for de Graaf. 4-1 for Allbots up for de Graaf as well. And Michael's 4-2 de Graaf. And Mike 4-1 de Graaf. So most people in the de Graaf camp with me and you, Jack, but a couple of them in there with you, Carwyn, as well. One of them being Bob, who generally gets most things right. So always good for your predictions, that.
And then we get an all Dutch. Sorry, no, we don't get an all Dutch 4th round.
We don't get an all Dutch 4th round, no? You going early on that one?
What?
I was going to say, you going...
Gerwen's the only Dutchman left in the tournament, apparently, because Jeffrey's Swedish now.
Yes, that's true. It went over my head for a second, that one. I didn't know where you were going with that. I hadn't checked who he plays next, to be honest. I'd completely forgotten that it's Van Gerwen next. Second game of the day. Kevin Dukes against Christoph Ratajski. This is where you confused me because I already had this in front of me and looking at it. And I just obviously saw Kevin Dukes and I thought, there's no way you're picking against the Polish Eagle, are you, God?
I don't know. All I know is this is a horror game.
Yeah.
Dukes was really, really good against Michael Smith, but I don't expect that same rhythm, pace, or excitement in this game.
No, it suits him playing against Michael Smith. I'm not
Yeah.
sure it suits him as much playing against Christoph Ratajski.
Christoph 4-3, but again, just going deep, I'm afraid.
Jesus Christ, we're definitely not going to get out of the building in time for the evening session. Carwin, which way are you going?
Not when you see who's on last. We did
I
warn
know
people
he's on
about this
last.
Sunday
Oh, he's
afternoon
on
session
last.
when the schedule came out, didn't we?
Yeah, we knew this was going to be an afternoon session.
I think it goes 7 sets as well, and I think it could be sudden death leg job. But I'm going to go against Gob and say that Kevin Dotes gets the win and make sure that there is more than one Dutchman in the 4th round.
I think I'm with you. I think he wins as well. But I can't face 7 sets of it. So I'm gonna go 4-2. Just there's a little bit of a break from it. I'm a 4-2 Kevin Dukes. In the chat room, we've got loads in today as well. It'll take me forever to click through these. James has got Ratajski 4-3. Everyone's thinking this goes deep. Alan's got Dukes 4-3. So's Kieran 4-2 for Patrick. 4-3 Ratajski for Jack. Daniel's got Dukes 4-3, as has Scott, and all boxed up. 4-2 Ratajski for Mike. 4-1 Ratajski for Bob. He's got it wide for Ratajski. 4-2 Dukes for Daz. Jamie's got Ratajski 4-2. Stephen Dukes 4-1. And then we've got George's got 4-2 to Ratajski. 4-3 Dukes for Michael, and Hazzy in there as well with 4-2 Dukes. So pretty split on that one, but basically everyone other than Bob thinking it goes relatively deep on that one as well. And then just to speed the day up, we've got Dimitri Vandenberg on last up against Callum Ritz. At least one of them's fast. So which way, Carwin, do you see this one going?
I think all depends what Callum Ritz turns up, and if he can control his temperament with the pace that Dimmy we know will bring to the game.
Lack of pace.
Well, lack of pace, yeah, that's the thing. Does he suck the life out of Ritz? I don't think he does. I think I've seen enough from Callan. He wins this. Oh, no, don't say 4-3 because it means it will go on all day.
It's going to be the first ever afternoon session to finish after it's gone
later than the evening session.
Yeah,
I think it does go deep. Sorry, boys. 4-3 Rids.
Rids. Gob, are you going to spur us some sets here, or are we going all the way as well?
Dimmy wins this one 4-1, and he puts Rids' head in an absolute blender.
I really want Rids to win this game, but I'm with you. I think he struggles with the pace, and I think he wins 2 sets, possibly the first 2, and then Dimmy takes over and wins. Yeah, Dimmy 4-2, unfortunately. In the chat room, we have got loads of predictions again. Daniel's got Dimmy 4-1. He's with you, Gob. Alan's with me, Dimmy 4-2. Rids 4-2 for Bob. Hart says Rids, head says Dimmy 4-2. Yeah, that's pretty much exactly how I felt, James. Dimmy 4-1 for Jonathan and for Mike. Patrick's got Dimmy 4-2. Rids 4-1 for Hazzy. We have got Jack's gone 4-3 for Callan, as is Kieran. Dimmy 4-1 pace messes up Rids. Stephen's with you. Gob on that one. Rids 4-3. Dimmy 4-3 for George. Sorry, that was Scott with Rids 4-3. Daz has got Rids 4-3 as well. And Allbots has got Rids 4-2, as Michael as well. Jamie, Rids 4-0. Love to see it, but I think you're dreaming a little bit there on that one. But that is the afternoon session done. And at 11:15 at night, the evening session will get underway. And we start off in the evening with Mr. Robert Owen up against Rapid Ricky Evans. I don't know whether Rob's still in the chat room, whether he's going to predict his own game. That would be a first up on here, I think. But yeah, I think it's you first this time, Gob. Which way are you going on this one? See the wheels just turning in Gob's head here, where he's going, do I be nice to him because he's been in the chat room? Or
it's not that. I want to see an outcome where Robert Owen keeps his tour card. I think I predicted Nebreda earlier. No, I predicted DeGraff, I think.
Yeah, you did.
Tiebreak. And that means Owen has to win.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure he does. I think Ricky Evans has been one of the unluckiest players on tour this year. His average and level has been superb. And I think he just loves... Ali Pally, love him. And what I hope is it doesn't turn into nastiness towards Rob, but actually just generally a good atmosphere and a crowd getting going for it.
Yeah.
But I can see Ricky winning this one 4-2, I'm afraid.
Carwyn, do we need to ask you, or do we know which way this one's going for you?
Well, I predicted Nebreda, so to make it easier for Rob in the night. But I think Ricky loses his pre-Christmas hype of the walk-on song, the Christmas shirt, and all that jazz, and he reverts back to the Ricky Evans who doesn't quite back up a good performance. I think Rob Owen wins 4-2, and Wales celebrates once again, as this time it will be definitely confirmed that he keeps his tour card, unless Nebreda wins the tournament or something crazy like that.
Yeah. I think I'm with you. And I've been impressed with what we've seen from Rob so far. I thought Ricky was not bad the other day. Like, I don't think it was his best level against Chizzy by any means, but he got through it. I just thought that what we saw from Rob against Clemens was better. And if he brings that same level again, then I think he gets over the line, and I think he wins 4-2. In the chat room, Daniel's with us there, 4-2 for Rob. Owen 4-3 in a sudden death. I mean, if everything goes the way we've predicted so far and that goes to sudden death legs, like we are literally we'll be starting this show at about sort of 4 o'clock on Monday morning.
Yeah, I might have tomorrow off.
Yeah, all right, yeah, nice one. Evans 4-2 for Alan, as for Jack as well. Has got Owen 4-1. 4-3 for Evans for Patrick. Kieran's got it 4-1 for Evans. Jonathan's gone 4-2 for Owen. 4-1 Evans for Scott. 4-3 Evans for Bob Etner. We've got Michael's got Owen 4-2. Owen 4-1 for Jamie. 4-2 for Allbots up as well because of tour card. I mean, it's a lot of credit that everyone's giving him that with that pressure on the line to turn up and perform as well. But he's done it so far, and there's no reason to say that he won't anymore either. Bob's got Evans 4-3.
The main thing here for him is this game is winnable.
Yeah, 100%.
For Rob Owen, like that could quite easily have been a very hot, informed Dave Chisnell.
Yeah. I mean, well, if we're going back about 4 years. Taz has got Owen 4-2, and Mike's got Evans 4-3, and then 4-2 Evans for Stephen as well. From there, we then go into, we're still in Welsh corner here. We can't get away from the Welsh tomorrow evening. Johnny Clayton against Gerwen Price. Carwyn, will come to you first on this one. Which way do you see this one going?
Now, pre-tournament, I fancied Clayton to make the semi-final and beat Price at the last 16 stage. I don't want to change that prediction, but I feel like we've seen more from Price than maybe I expected us to. But because I'm a man of my word, Clayton wins this one 4-3.
Gob?
I don't know the exact numbers, but it feels like the head-to-head in this one is very heavily stacked towards Gezi. The only real time I remember Clayton doing a job was that Grand Prix final a few years ago.
Yeah.
I agree with Carwin.
In recent games, he's won one of the last 10, I think, from what I can see there, which was one Premier League now.
I agree with Carwin in that we've seen more from Gezi so far. I also think he has the ability to be that bit more clinical in this matchup than Johnny does. I also hate to say it, but P word's on the line in this one potentially. Between these two, another big win here for Johnny would eliminate a contender for that spot, plus give him a bit of daylight in the rankings for where he could fall or finish by the end of the tournament, should I say. But I think Gezi wins this one. I think he wins it 4-1.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Gezi's just been better than Johnny has. I like that Carwin sat there and said he's a man of his word and he stuck with what he was saying. I'm pretty sure when we were the last time we were on here predicting before the Worlds that me and Carwin both switched who we were going with before the fight the semi-finals with what we predicted beforehand. But if you want to tell everyone that you're sticking to your word, I'll let you have that.
Thank you.
In the chat room, before I make my prediction, we've got Clayton 4-2 for James, 4-3 for Mike for Clayton as well. Then we've got a whole host for Price. We've got Daniel 4-2, Alan 4-2, Scott 4-3, Kieran 4-2, and Patrick 4-2, 4-3 for Jack, and 4-2 for Bob, all for Gezi there, as well as Michael as well with a 4-3 for Price. James got it Price 4-0. All what's up, Clayton 4-2. And Price 4-2 for Stephen. George has got it 4-2 for Clayton as well. We've got 4-3 for Clayton, sudden death legs for Boetna, and we've got Hazzy with 4-2 Gezi. I think it's 4-1 Gezi. I think it's not particularly close. I think he's sort of got his way through a couple of games and he's sort of building into it. And I just think what we'll now see is we'll see him kick on in this game and we see Tops return to being his best friend. And if that happens, it could be a very sort of quick night for Johnny Clayton.
Yes.
And finally, we have Luke Humphries up against Peter Wright. We've got a bit of spice in this matchup after Luke's comments last night as well, where he didn't want to chirp back at Peter Wright because he doesn't want to do that, but he then assassinated his career, basically, straight afterwards. Gob, which way are you having this one?
Form-wise, this is Luke Humphries all day, isn't he? He's been the star man for 18 months. He's produced a better level in this tournament so far, albeit one that he didn't. Opening round, we ignored. Second round, very, very good. The performance from Peter Wright in the last round, despite being ill, was very, very good. We don't have any word on how that chest infection is doing, but to make a miraculous recovery in 2 days, I think is unlikely. So the chance are he's going to play through that as it is. The worry here for Luke Humphries is that those comments add that little bit extra spice to this game. And we haven't really seen Luke play with the added pressure of backing up something he said like that. We've seen it in the past when he's spoken about wanting to be in the Premier League as the World Youth Champion and just basically begging for an invite for 3 years before he actually got there. But other than that, he's never really had this war of words with an opponent that he's then got to match up with. Whereas Snakebite has done this week in, week out with Michael van Gerwen for the best part of 5 years. Now, he hasn't always backed it up, but he's played under that pressure to the point where it's just a normal day at the office for Peter right now. And the worry is that when Luke has struggled is when he's looked like he's trying that little bit too much to put on a show to bash up an opponent. If he finds his rhythm early on, this will be a bloodbath. But if not, Peter Wright just gets the opportunity to chip away at him and chip away at him and chip away at him, a bit like Dimmy did to Luke in the UK Open final, I think it was. Was it the final they met in?
Semi.
But it definitely felt like that's a matchup that didn't suit him, and Peter Wright could be very, very similar in that mould.
Okay. Carwin?
Despite all that, Luke wins 4-2.
Okay. Gone on a long walk there to give us the prediction that we all expected in the first place. Carwin, which way are you going?
I think Luke raises his game, and again, I think we saw it between his first and second match, and I think we see it again in the fact that he has to find another gear as the opponents get better. And whilst I think we've seen a big improvement from Wright in his performance at these World Championships, I just think Luke has too much for him, and I think 4-2 sounds about accurate, really. I think Wright will offer a bit of a fight, but not enough to really test Luke. And I think Luke backs up his comments, really. And he may have the same success as Peter Wright come next week.
Yeah. Firstly, I'm just going to throw a comment on the screen. I absolutely don't believe this. Someone's definitely on the wind up, but if Debbie is real, then fair enough. Shout out to Debbie there. She shouldn't really be getting shown up on the screen because she's not put a prediction up, but I'm going to make an exception because I'm in charge. I think
You're what?
What?
You're what?
I think in this case, fucking used it. Anyway,
What darts do you play with? Are they smooth barreled?
No, they're not.
Are they come in a coffin case?
They're actually Peter Wright ones, the ones that I play with. They are the old the bronze number from a little while ago. I think in this one, I think Peter Wright needs to turn up and play as well as he did the other day if he's going to get 2 sets. And I don't think he does. I think he drops off again and doesn't play particularly well. And I think Luke absolutely rattles him here and beats him 4-0.
Wow.
Bold.
So, yeah, bombshell to end on from me. In the chat room, Nels has got Snakey winning it 4-3. Humphreys 4-1 for Alan. James is with me, 4-0 statement victory. I think it is. I think this could be the point where he really kicks on. Humphreys 4-1 for Mike. Jack's got Wright 4-2. It's a little bit more split than I expected it to be. Daniel Luke 4-1, as is Patrick as well. Luke 4-0 for All Boxed Up. And then we've got 4-2 for Michael for Luke and Bob Etner 4-1. 4-3 for Snakey for Jamie. Just fancies it to go that way. 4-1 Humphreys for Bob. 4-2 for Scott. Another one there. Daz has gone for Snakey and Sudden Death Legs as long as he uses the same set. Well, that's a fair point as well. With make sure he's using the same ones. Humphreys 4-0 for George there as well. And utter nonsense from Godfather. You have not got the brains in this chat. I'm not having any of that. Shite. Luke Humphreys 4-2 for Kieran. 4-1 Luke Humphreys for Stephen. And when's Dan or Giles next on? I mean, Giles has a child. I don't know if he's mentioned it. And Dan, God knows, he was ill the other day, and then we've not seen him since, so could be whatever. Kieran, Luke 4-2. Phil Barr's in the chat, 4-1 for Luke. You've got to put it in the same message. Come on, man.
Surprised he spelt his name right, to be honest.
He hasn't. He's put 2 L's. And on that note,
Good time.
yeah. That's all done for day 11 at the Paddy Power World Darts Championship. If you are having a punt on your selections there, don't back mine because you will lose. But if you are doing it, do it with Paddy Power. There's loads of good offers going on, loads of freebies, loads of fun little what odds Paddy bets you can put on if you want to just have a couple of quid and make it interesting. Whatever you are doing, though, do it responsibly, of course. And we'll be back tomorrow. I think it's certainly me and Carwin again. We'll say tomorrow. With how long tomorrow's session is going to be, it might be the early hours of Monday when we get started. But Gob, are you going to join us again? Are you free again tomorrow?
No, not after that afternoon session. I'm going to pour bleach on my eyes.
Fair enough. I mean, well, you didn't watch Dimmy when you went, so I wouldn't imagine you'll be watching it tomorrow afternoon from home either. So yeah, so not you. Maybe we'll get Dan Simpson then. We might say we're not going to get Jarlath. That's just not going to happen. But I think he's done his one day, and he did it when Barney was on because that's his favourite, and then now we'll be back off to being a parent. So yeah, thank you everyone in the chat room. It's been busy as ever today, like probably the busiest one we've had in terms of everyone getting involved in the chat room as well. So you guys always make it what it is. Thank you again to Jack for coming along and waffling for a while. Carwin, thank you for actually providing some decent insight. And we'll see you all again very, very soon. Bye.